Good afternoon and welcome to our first meeting in February. Appreciate everybody being here in our audience today and those of you watching us on our Electric City Television. The invocation tonight will be given by Councilmember Tony Stewart in respect to the flags to be led by Councilmember Beatrice Thompson. Please rise.
Let us pray. Spirit of abundance, God of grace, Mother of hope, we pause now to remember those stories that are told around us, but so often are passed over. Those stories that when told are shared because of what someone is, not who they are. This month in our nation's character is Black History Month. Please help us realize that Black history is all of our histories. May the day come when the stories that are so widely taught that no month need to be separately divided. We know this day will not come until we as a people make different choices. I pray for those choices now, dear Heavenly Father. May we come to see a day when the prison system becomes colors of one skin, and a day where the schools are well funded as the need demands. May our role models be allowed to excel where they thrive and not be taken down for their rich heritage. This can be scary for some, but give those full of fear hope. May we come to know your grace so that our hearts will not be hardened to the pains around us. And finally, dear God, I pray that we all remember that we are most human when we see the humanity in others. These things we ask in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get into the body of our meeting, we have a special recognition, and I'm going to ask Chief Stewart to come down and lead us in that. Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, appreciate this opportunity as well. We didn't know we had this promotion coming up until we received a notice about 2 weeks ago. So Lieutenant Jack Brandon in our detention center will be retiring at the end of this month. So it created the opportunity for a person and sergeant in our department to move forward. And I'm going to ask Lieutenant Dooley to come down. Lieutenant Dooley has been with our department since 2000. He started with his law enforcement career in Greenville County at the Greenville County Detention Center, Williamston, in the year 2000, and joined the Anderson Police Department in 2003. He was promoted to sergeant in 2013. He's also served in our special operations, and my special opportunity is that he has served as an internal affairs officer for our department for the last 5 years. So I'm really going to hate to see him leave that position, but I'm glad to see him move up in the chain of command. Lieutenant Dooley's new duty will be the lieutenant over our detention center for our city prisoners and our federal prisoners. Lieutenant Dooley, just step up. We'll administer the oath of office. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I,
Steve Dooley,
as a police officer of the city of Anderson,
as a police officer of the city of Anderson,
will equally, fairly, and impartially, to the best of my ability and skill, exercise the trust reposed in me, and will use my best endeavors, to preserve the peace, and carry into effect, according to law, the purpose for which I've been elected. So help me God. Congratulations.
Thanks, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thanks, sir. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thanks, sir.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations. Thank you for what you did.
Thanks, sir. Thanks, sir. Thanks, sir.
We have 2 sets of minutes to approve. We have our January 22nd meeting, and Also, our call meeting on February the 5th. If we don't have any corrections or additions, I would accept the motion to approve both of those minutes.
So moved.
First by Mr. Buck Roberts, second by Mr. Don Chapman. Y'all sounds, Mr. Cal Newton, I stand corrected. Had the second on that, more good. First by Buck, second by Kyle. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes of January 22nd and February 5th passed unanimously. We don't have any old business, and we have 4 items of new business. And the first item is request consideration of appointment to the Anderson Housing Authority Board of Commissioners. Ms. McConnell.
This is that time of year for terms on some of our boards and commissions. Many of them expire in December of a certain year. This is true with the Anderson Housing Authority Board. The term of Emily Owen expired December 2017, and Ms. Owen has expressed an interest. Her time and her talent and her experience on this board. It is a 5-year term, and it expires December 31st, 2022. We would certainly recommend her reappointment to this board. She serves with other board members, Jason Craddock, Lauren Larison Smith, Chase Christopher, and Charlie Irvin.
Thank you, ma'am. Any comments, questions?
Well, Emily's in my district at council seat, and I think she's done a great job, and I'd like to make a motion that we reappoint her.
First by Mr. Stewart.
Second.
Second by Dr. Thompson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously, and we thank Ms. Owens and the rest of the commissioners who do that work. It's good work. Our next item is request consideration to purchase a replacement sludge pump for the Rocky River Wastewater Treatment Plant. Ms. McConnell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is one of those subject matters that's not very glamorous to talk about, but we're certainly appreciative for the fact that we have a wastewater treatment plant and what it does for our community with our ability to provide this collection system as well as the treatment plant. As you know, a lot of times things at these plants equipment begins to reach its useful life, and that's the end of its useful life, and that's what you have before you tonight with this sludge pump. And I'd like to ask Utilities Director Jeff Caldwell to tell you a little bit more about the 19-year lifespan of this pump and what we need to do to remedy the situation.
Thank you, Ms. McConnell. This pump is part of our dewatering process for our solids at the plant, which allows us to ultimately dispose of those solids. Right now, this happens on site. This sludge pump is part of a dual system, so there is a backup that is the regulatory compliance issues. So replacing that will bring us back into compliance with those.
Good, thanks, Jeff. Any comments, questions?
We did receive bids for this. Darby Electric in Anderson offered the bid of $11,677.36. That is for a brand new pump. United Services in Anderson offered a rebuild pump for $12,691. Another company, Tin Carva out of Greensboro, $18,000 for a rebuild. And we did not get a bid from IMS in Anderson. So we are certainly recommending that we move forward with the purchase from Darby Electric, the new pump, at the cost of $11,677.36.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I just have
Mr.
one question. How long is it warranted, the new pump? Because
It's around 3 years. 3-year warranty on the manufacturer's.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, with that, I'd recommend that we approve it as presented.
Second. First by Mr. Chapman, second by Mr. Buck Roberts. Any further discussion?
I was just like to point out, I mean, it's nice to see that there's at least 2 local bidders. Really, there's 3 listed, but 1 did not bid. The local people that are bidding on some of this business.
Good deal, no doubt. Any other comments, discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Our next item is to request consideration of a business assistant program awarded to, is that Belle?
Belle.
Belle Beauty. Ms. McConnell.
Yes, we're pleased to bring this to you this evening. One of the things, as you all know, we've added tools to our economic development toolbox. A lot of times we have businesses that are very interested in opening a new establishment, renovating a building. A lot of times, as we've seen and talked with people, it is the little extra help that they may be able to receive financially in the form of the grants that we offer that might make the difference as to whether that business can open this year or they have to postpone their timing based on their financial plans to a good opportunity to not only create new jobs, renovate a building, add new business to our inventory downtown. So all of those things are good for us. So we'd like to tell you a little bit more about Belle Beauty, where it's going to be located, and what assessment we've done in terms of their request for participation with our business assistance program. And Mary Haley Thompson is going to share those details with us.
Okay.
Excuse me, go ahead.
So we received a business assistance program grant application from Belle Beauty, a business that will locate at 109 North Main Street, the former K-Wig shop right beside Cocoa Bon Chocolatier. And Belle Beauty is a salon that will offer a variety of women's services and retail. The total renovations are estimated at $249,689, and these permanent improvements will facilitate their business opening, which will create 7 new jobs. Based on their score, the incentive amount would be $15,973, but as you all know, the cap for the business assistance programs are $15,000. So city staff and the Economic Development Committee collaborated on this at our last meeting to recommend a funding level of $15,000 to the applicant upon receipt of paid invoices and project completion. And the business owner, Alan Zirkelbach, is here if you have any specific questions about the renovations or business.
Thank you. Do we have any questions?
I guess just for my clarity, I know in the past we've done like interior upfit grants and facade, and is this the first historic building maintenance grant that we've done? Or is this...
Let's see.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so, yeah. There historic building maintenance.
I was just curious on that, but I don't recall seeing infrastructure. What is that? Has anybody ever applied and got money for, what does that consist of?
Infrastructure is anything to help with like ADA requirements or fire safety, like if you're going to sprinkler the building, or any handicap ramps or anything, or even public improvements like sidewalks. So we have had a few apply for that. One is actually another one that was scored this quarter called the Junkyard. It's a gym that applied for some sidewalk improvements in front of the property, but it did not exceed the amount to bring it to council. So we have done that before.
So they're actually participating in several of the programs that we offer, but the cap on the total assistance that you can get through the program is $15,000.
And maybe, go ahead, Dr. Thompson.
I missed it. You said possibly creating how many jobs?
7.
7
Yeah.
jobs.
So there's how many booths again? 6 booths, so for the...
Alan, would you talk a little bit about the business, please?
Yeah.
Hi, Alan Zirkelbach, 109 Main Street. Yes, there's actually 9 employee spots. 7 of those will be new. 2 have already been hired and are currently working towards getting the whole project going. So it's 7 new jobs to quote exactly, but there's 3 treatment rooms where there'll be microblading and some cosmetic sorts of things, and then facials and massage, and then there's hair booths, and then there's a retail section in the shop on the first floor. And the second floor will be predominantly all offices. It'll be some storage of some of the stock for the first floor.
Good. Anything else?
Mayor, I appreciate you coming to our community and investing in our downtown, and especially the historic buildings. You know, I see the archway on the left-hand side.
Yeah, we didn't know that was there, but it's a nice treatment, and we will celebrate it, so to speak.
We appreciate you doing that. With that, I'd like to make a motion to approve this.
Second. First by Mr. Harmon, second by the Mayor Pro Tem. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Our last item of new business is request consideration of an economic development incentive agreement with JB Ferguson Properties LLC. Ms. McConnell.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to introduce this subject, and then we would suggest that we consider this in executive session, since it is discussion of negotiations regarding proposed contractual agreements and the economic development incentive agreement. But this particular proposed contractual agreement is for properties located directly across from City Hall, 406 through 420 South Main Street. It's a mixed-use development, including retail, some restaurant space, office accommodations, and residential units. And that is certainly one of the things that's in our wish list in terms of the ability to use with both this particular topic and the prior development. If you notice, we're not just using the first floor space, it also involves the redevelopment and use of the second floor space. In this case, the total investment is expected to be over $2 million, and it does meet our general eligibility criteria for your economic development incentive program, in that it's in our designated area, it's in your downtown TIF. It covers the areas of retail and the tourism business category, and the development exceeds your threshold of $300,000 as an investment threshold, including 50% of that can count towards the physical improvements. As you know, just like very similar to the project before, even though they're different programs, the good thing about the programs is it allows us to minimize some of the risk that an investor has to put forth on their own, but the risk not administered until after the work is done. So we get the benefit of seeing a project really take shape before you ever put any money out there in the form of those paid invoices and so forth that go forward. So based on the fact that it does meet our criteria, that it is a project that is very visible in our downtown, it's in the TIF, we would recommend further discussion of this in executive session based upon the proposed contractual arrangements and the participation in the Economic Development Incentive Agreement. And that is with JB Ferguson Properties, LLC.
Thank you.
So you're recommending approving this?
We're recommending going into executive session to talk about that.
Okay, I was just looking at the recommendation on our sheet. It says recommending approval.
from the committee.
Yes, but you have the details of the agreement to discuss, yes. We're saying it meets our criteria, and we think therefore you should move it forward in order to have that discussion about the details.
Make a motion to go into executive session.
Have a first by Mr. Chapman,
Second.
second by the Mayor Pro Tem. All those in favor say aye.
We're not, are we gonna do administrative briefing before you go into
No,
executive session?
we're gonna do it after we come out.
Okay.
Yep. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We stand in executive session. We're gonna ask you guys to be displaced and move. We're gonna stand here for a second.
And John.
I think so. Sure. Yes, I did.
his parties.
I would make a motion to come out of executive session. First by Buck Roberts,
Second.
second by Dr. Thompson. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We stand out of executive session. In executive session, we heard the administrative team give a discussion on negotiating incident to the proposed contract regarding economic development incentive to JB Ferguson Property LLC. Doing that, and
Motion.
we have a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make-
What's your motion?
I make a motion, we approve the economic incentive agreement for JB Ferguson.
In the amount of,
The dollar amount?
Yeah, in the amount of $250,000 and payable over 5-year period. Anything else?
So there's a motion on the floor to enter a contractual agreement with JB Ferguson Properties for $250,000 over a 5-year period.
Second.
Have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is unanimous. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
No, administrative.
I'm sorry. Administrative briefing, Ms. McConnell.
Mr. Mayor, for the record, it might be helpful if I told a little bit more about
Please do.
economic development incentive with JB Ferguson Properties LLC. The amount of the investment that is taking place at 406 through 420 South Main. That property is located directly across the street from City Hall. It will have an anticipated revenue generation that we have calculated very conservatively based upon the types of uses that are in those buildings now, as well as the anticipated new uses which will go in. And very conservatively, we believe it will generate at least $340,000 over, and a little bit more over a 5-year period. When we look at those types of revenue generation, we're looking at revenues such as building permit fees, water and sewer revenues. We're looking at everything from property taxes to business licenses. And of course, those will change based upon what type of business that is actually going in there. In terms of the uses that are proposed, the uses include mixed-use retail. That includes both service businesses, such as those that are presently there, tailors, alterations tailors, shoe shop. You've got restaurant activity that's there presently. It is anticipated that there will be 8 different businesses, or as many as 8 different businesses there. As many as 7 residential apartments upstairs. This has job creation attached to it with a minimum level of new jobs created, which would be about 18, and a minimum number of residents. Our intended uses downtown by providing new businesses that meet needs in our community from the service level to the residential component. Putting those together gives us more of that 24/7 environment that we believe is critical for our continued improvement and enhancement in the downtown. So not only do we generate new tax revenue from a building that gets renovated, it's an addition to our historic downtown as well. The other thing that I would like to point out, while it is correct that we are recommending and approving $250,000 over a 5-year period, that $250,000 incentive grant is based upon the amount of revenue that is generated by the development activities and businesses that occur annually. So in January of every year, we will look at those revenues to see if they are tracking as we have anticipated. So we'll never give out in any one year any more revenue than we've taken in. And those numbers get trued up annually based upon whatever revenue comes in. So if it's wildly successful, like we certainly expect it to be, and the revenues come in more, then the total amount of that 250 could conceivably be paid faster than the 5 years. Or if they don't bring in the amount of money annually that is anticipated, that gets adjusted. So as we said earlier, the risk to the city is minimal. The benefits that we would accrue can be greater than what we anticipate, and we certainly applaud Mr. Ferguson for his of such a part of our community. One other point of clarification, certainly as a recommendation both from the staff and anytime one of our committees meets, the recommendation that is put forward is one that tells the staff that the committee is willing and ready to bring the project forward for consideration to the full council. So the committee, any conversation, any discussion, any recommendation from a committee is simply that. It is a recommendation, and it's brought forward as part of the process in bringing it forward to the council. So clear, we certainly hope that stands to clarify that.
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to clarify, Ms. McConnell, that I don't know if you, or I didn't catch the total investment being just under $2.1 million.
Yes. But I don't mind you saying it again.
Good.
Mr. Ferguson, I say God bless you.
We'll give it our best shot.
Good.
Mr. Mayor. I'd also like to say thank you, and Belle Beauty and Mr. Zuckerberg, and see what we've done here tonight. And things are really moving forward in Anderson. I encourage all of our city to move forward with and speak with us about what we can do to help them and their businesses move forward. So I commend everyone, staff, the developers. So thank you, fellow council members.
Thank you. Any other comments? Administrative briefing.
Thank you. On your agenda, we have the on-call professional services for recreation. I'm sure you may remember, it's been a few years ago, but back in 2013, we did move forward with requests for qualifications for several different categories that we often need professional services for, and that was everything from recreation to wastewater to general engineering. Those at that time when we put that out, we anticipated that we could call upon those as we needed those professional services, and that way we had an opportunity to select from a group of people that we had already vetted their qualifications and their ability, their experience, the people they had on their various teams, and that sort of thing. Right now, we had the need to move forward with the recreation piece of that. Some of the, not only has the time frame neared the end, but some of the team members that were originally part of those recreation consultants have changed over time. So we did put out our request for qualifications for these services for recreation, and we anticipated that the scope of services that we were looking for would be master planning, bikeways, cost estimates, public involvement. It could be stormwater sediment control, site evaluation, surveys, construction documents, anything that would really fit into those categories where we need outside help to assist our staff. So the on-call selection list is for 3 years. We did receive 3 submittals. Johnson, Lashaber and Associates, that they're out of Mount Pleasant. The Land Plan Group South is out of Columbia, and Goodwin Mills and Kaywood are out of Greenville. We are recommending, we think all 3 of these firms bring different experience to the table for recreation, and we would like to put all 3 of them on our on-call list. It doesn't really require, we're not asking you for any kind of contract at this point. We're just saying we've, as staff, have vetted their ability to provide these kinds of services, and we would like to renew our list in the recreation category with these 3 firms. We also anticipate that in the next few months, those other categories, our utilities, water, wastewater, I forgot all the various categories, all of those other categories that we currently have been working on, we would like to put the RFQs out there again so we can fill those other categories of expertise and be able to call on those people. So you will, we're not ready to do that at this point, but that will be on our, in our next few months, we would like to pursue that.
Question. Does that mean that if we needed those services or things you just mentioned?
We will need them off and on just based upon
What I'm going to
projects.
ask is that since we got these 3 companies that you recommended,
Yes, ma'am?
does that mean that we could not have bids out for anybody outside of those 3 companies?
No, you always have the opportunity. Let's just say that there's some big construction project you want to take on. Then you would probably still put that out for bids. In this case, we have need for small projects sometimes that you just need, it's on your list, you've approved a project, you just have told us to go get it done. Sometimes we need those outside. This is not anything unusual, it's what you've done before, but you always reserve the right to choose a project to bid it out rather than just use these.
And the project would still fall under the maximum amount that can be
Yes,
approved?
yes.
That would come back to us?
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken, we first went down this path just for emergencies.
Well, we did it for
Engineering.
transportation. That was
Yeah.
one of the categories, and the DOT used a very similar process.
That's
and
right.
and then we discovered that a lot of other cities did because you know if you had a stormwater issue. Or a sewer issue that your staff couldn't quite figure out what to do with right this minute, then you've got somebody you can pick up the phone and say, hey, you know, we need your expertise and we need you to work with our staff to get this done. So, you know, it means you've been through a formal process that said, hey, anybody who can provide this service, tell us that you're interested because we'd like to talk with you. So it's been through a formal, not bid, but a formal qualifications
Vetting.
process.
Good. Thank you.
And on our calendar, we have Thursday night, the Southeast Anderson Task Force meets at 5:30 at the Career Campus. On Friday the 16th, we have our council retreat at Furman University. That's at the Harkness Pavilion. On Monday, the 19th, our city offices will be closed for President's Day, and that gets us moving forward. The 20th is the Westside Community Coalition at 4 p.m. at the Westside Community Center. And C2 Neighborhood Watch meets at 6 p.m. at the Fire Station 3. And on Thursday, the 22nd, the Concerned Citizens of the East Side at 5 p.m. at the Alternative School. That gets us through the next 2 weeks, Mr. Mayor. That's all we have.
Thank you. Well, I would entertain a motion this time to adjourn. Have first by Mr. Newton, Second by the Mayor Pro Tem. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? We stand adjourned.
All right.